spend, haven't they? They've got a big security bill. They're trying to get this world.
The money is officially drying up for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle as more and more news of the dissolution.
Prince Harry was tricked during a phone call with two Russian pranksters posing as Greta Thunberg and her father. During the call, he told them
Meghan Markle's world is crumbling, and this time there's nowhere left to run. Staff at the Archwell Foundation are getting laid off left and right, and sources say the Duchess is in full-blown panic mode over finances. This isn't just another tabloid rumor anymore. The financial reckoning that everyone's been predicting for years, it's finally here, and it's happening fast. Behind those carefully staged Instagram posts and polished public appearances, the cracks are showing in ways that can't be hidden anymore. The mansion in Montecito might look perfect from the outside, but inside those walls, the empire they tried to build is imploding. Before we dive into how wild this gets, hit that subscribe button and smash the like. Trust me, you're gonna want to see where this goes. The desperate moves she's making and who's actually sticking around, it's insane. Let's get into it. So here's where things get really messy. Archwell Foundation is making cuts across the board, and staff members who thought they were part of something revolutionary are now getting shown the door.
They are fundamentally altering the legal and financial structure of their entire charitable operation. The new fiscal sponsorship model
The reason? The cash just isn't there. It's as simple and as damning as that. The grand vision that Meghan sold to the world, this idea that she and Harry would build an empire rivaling the biggest names in media, is crumbling faster than anyone could have anticipated. Remember when Meghan left the royal family back in 2020? Sources say she genuinely believed the offers would never stop coming. She had it all mapped out in her head. Hollywood was going to embrace her with open arms. Silicon Valley would throw money at her feet, and brands would be lining up just begging for her endorsement. That was the fantasy she apparently sold to Harry when she convinced him to walk away from everything he knew. Can you imagine that conversation? Painting this picture of unlimited success, telling him they'd be bigger than royalty, that they'd build something entirely their own. And Harry fell for it. He actually went all in. But listen, fantasy and reality are two completely different worlds, and reality just came knocking hard.
I know how to describe Meghan Markle at the end of 2025.
Yeah, as Ali Ross, the brilliant TV critic of The Sun.
What makes this moment so significant isn't just that things are going badly. It's the sheer speed of the collapse. We're talking about a trajectory that went from the top of the world to rock bottom in what feels like a blink. Just a few years ago, this couple was signing deals worth tens of millions of dollars. Netflix, Spotify, book deals, speaking engagements, you name it, they had it. The future looked absolutely limitless. Everyone was throwing money at them, and the media was eating up every announcement about their next big venture. Now look at where we are. Spotify publicly walked away after just 1 year, calling them out for producing nothing worthwhile. They didn't even try to be polite about it. The message was clear. Netflix reportedly restructured their whole arrangement into what insiders are mockingly calling a fake deal, slashing their compensation down to a fraction of what it used to be. They're keeping them on the books while paying them pennies compared to that original.
At the Archwell Foundation, we show up, do good. Our values are an extension of our
$100 million figure that made all the headlines. And Archwell, the foundation that was supposed to be their lasting legacy, the thing that would cement them as global philanthropic powerhouses, can't even keep its own staff employed. Get this, the pattern that's become impossible to ignore. Every single major deal that Harry and Meghan have touched in the past 5 years has either collapsed entirely or been quietly restructured into something way less impressive than what was originally announced. Industry insiders have been watching this downward spiral with a mixture of fascination and disbelief. One veteran entertainment executive pointed out something that cuts right to the heart of the problem. When you work with celebrities at the highest level, you learn real quick that the ones who succeed are the ones who deliver hits. Doesn't matter how famous you are. Doesn't matter how many magazine covers have your face plastered on them. If you can't produce content that people actually want to consume, the money dries up fast. And here's what nobody wants to say out loud.
His attention-seeking wife, Meghan. So yes, the video, totally inappropriate, and totally all.
They haven't produced a single genuine hit since leaving the royal family. Not one. Think about that for a second. Years of deals, millions of dollars invested, all that potential, and there's not a single project you can point to and say, yeah, that was a success. That's the reality that reportedly keeps Meghan up at night. She walked into Hollywood thinking her title and her fame would be enough. She thought the world owed her success just because of who she was. But what makes it even worse, they weren't even using their own money for these ventures. They were leveraging their fame to get funding from other people while taking zero personal financial risk. That's actually pretty common in entertainment and business, but the catch is this. It only works if you eventually deliver returns. When you keep taking investments and producing nothing of value, when you're burning through cash with nothing to show for it, the investors stop calling, the offers stop coming, and suddenly you're scrambling to figure out how to pay the mortgage on a mansion.
Born as Archwell Philanthropies, has dropped its latest financials, and wow. If this were a university course,
you probably can't even afford anymore. Now let's talk about where all that money went, because this part is going to make your jaw drop. Sources are revealing that the salaries being paid to Archwell staff were staggering. We're talking six-figure salaries for positions that produce no measurable impact whatsoever. No viral campaigns, no successful product launches, and definitely no return on investment. The money was just pouring out of Archwell like water through a sieve, and Meghan kept signing those checks anyway. This is what happens when you confuse spending money with accomplishing something. Meghan apparently thought that surrounding herself with expensive talent would automatically translate into success. You know, hire the best people, pay them handsomely, and just watch the magic happen. But the magic never materialized. Instead, sources claim that Archwell became this bloated operation.
This operation would earn a straight-up F in Philanthropy 101. In 2024, Archwell spent a record-breaking
where staff members were enjoying generous compensation packages while the work remained completely stagnant. Meetings were held, strategies were discussed, memos were written all day long, but hits? They were never produced. The American Riviera Orchard situation perfectly shows this dysfunction. When Meghan tried to launch her lifestyle brand, she struggled big time to find a CEO willing to take the job. And the reason was pretty telling. According to sources, the salary Meghan was offering didn't match the expectations for someone qualified to launch a major consumer brand. She wanted top-tier talent, but wasn't prepared to pay top-tier rates. This created an impossible situation where the brand just sat there languishing without proper leadership, while Meghan allegedly blamed everyone else for the delays.
For years, the topic was off-limits. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle had fiercely protected.
But wait, here's the contradiction that makes this whole thing so infuriating. If Meghan was unwilling to pay competitive rates for a CEO position that could generate revenue, why was she paying astronomical salaries to staff members whose roles produced nothing tangible? The math simply doesn't add up. You can't claim to be fiscally responsible while simultaneously burning through funds on positions that deliver zero return. Either the money management was catastrophically poor or the priorities were completely backwards. Maybe it's both. Industry observers have pointed out that successful charitable foundations operate with lean efficiency. They maximize every single dollar toward their stated mission. They don't pay Hollywood-level salaries to administrative staff while struggling to fund programs.
Parents and lovely children. You are the problem. Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, sent out.
But Archwell operated more like a vanity project than a serious philanthropic endeavor. Get this, their office, which sources mockingly point out is really just a room in their house, would issue press releases from the office of the Duke and Duchess as if they were running some multinational corporation. The pretentiousness was off the charts. And now it's all being exposed for exactly what it was. The layoffs currently devastating Archwell aren't just about cutting costs to stay afloat. They're an admission that the entire structure was unsustainable from the very beginning. Meghan built an organization designed to make her feel important rather than one designed to function and deliver results. She wanted the appearance of running a major foundation without doing the hard work that comes with it. Think about what this means. You've got staff members pulling in serious six-figure paychecks, sitting in meetings all day, creating PowerPoints and strategy documents.
At best, this is some kind of art project. And then we have the Welcome Project, which we've heard.
But where's the output? Where are the programs changing lives? Where are the initiatives making headlines for the right reasons? They're nowhere because they don't exist. The whole operation was just theater. Expensive, elaborate theater that drained resources without creating anything of real value. Now, as the money runs dry and reality sets in, those eye-watering salaries have become eye-watering liabilities that she simply can't afford anymore. The staff who thought they'd landed dream jobs working for a duchess are finding out the hard way that the dream was built on quicksand. And Meghan's left scrambling to figure out how to keep this thing running when the fundamental business model, if you can even call it that, was broken from day one. You can't build a sustainable organization by throwing money at people and hoping something sticks. Eventually, someone's going to ask what they're getting for all that investment.
If they would release a family Christmas photo this year, I 100% respect Harry and Meghan's right to protect their children.
And when the answer is nothing, well, this is what happens. Just when you thought this situation couldn't get more absurd, sources are revealing a plan so desperate that it almost defies belief. With paid staff being shown the door and budgets collapsing all around them, Meghan and Harry are exploring the idea of recruiting volunteers to keep Archwell operational. Yeah, you heard that right. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex, who spent years demanding million-dollar salaries and luxury accommodations everywhere they go, are now considering asking regular people to work for them for free. The irony here is so thick, you could cut it with a knife. This is a couple who left the royal family claiming they needed financial independence. They signed deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They purchased a mansion worth nearly $15 million. They travel on private jets. They demand security details that cost taxpayers and hosts astronomical sums.
Is completely and utterly flopping and failing and not bringing in any money. And this is because Archwell Foundation.
And now, when their foundation is struggling, their solution is to ask volunteers to donate their labor while they continue living in luxury. The optics couldn't possibly be worse. But the problems with this volunteer scheme go way beyond simple hypocrisy. Sources close to the situation are pointing out a glaring issue that apparently hasn't occurred to Meghan and Harry. Their obsession with security and privacy makes a volunteer-based operation practically impossible. These are people who've spent years complaining about leaks to the press. They've accused family members, former staff, and seemingly everyone they've ever encountered of betraying their trust. They require non-disclosure agreements from anyone who enters their orbit. So how exactly are they planning to vet volunteers who'll presumably have access to sensitive foundation information? The answer is that they probably can't.
Website, it only has a landing page. So I'll be waiting for that one. But of course, they see that as a burden.
And this is where the whole scheme falls apart entirely. Charitable organizations that rely on volunteers typically operate with transparency. They welcome community involvement. They understand that volunteers are going to talk to their friends and families about their experiences. That's just human nature. But Harry and Meghan have built their entire post-royal existence around secrecy and control. These two philosophies can't coexist. Either you open your doors to well-meaning volunteers and accept that information will flow freely, or you maintain your paranoid grip on every piece of information and pay staff who are bound by employment contracts. Insiders are already predicting disaster. One source claimed it's only a matter of time before some volunteer walks into that operation.
Of it knew. If this was meant to be inspirational, it failed. It came off desperate, self-serving, and rushed, which
sees how things really work behind the scenes and shares everything with the press. And when that happens, because it will happen, Meghan's going to play the victim card all over again. She'll cry about betrayal and privacy violations while conveniently ignoring that she created this situation by being too cheap to pay employees. Think about what volunteering for Archwell would look like. You'd show up ready to help out with charitable work, excited to contribute to something meaningful, and instead, you'd probably spend your time in endless meetings, dealing with organizational chaos, watching money get mismanaged, and witnessing the dysfunction firsthand. And unlike paid staff who signed NDAs and have financial incentive to stay quiet, volunteers have nothing stopping them from walking away and telling their story. That's a ticking time bomb. This volunteer plan isn't a strategic pivot or some innovative approach to philanthropy.
Of course,
That
Meghan will have
they
her
don't
hair
see a
down
path
and weird
forward
shoes
either,
where you can
where
see
they're
all
going
of
to
her
make a
foot.
lot of
So
money.
they will still do all of.
It's a white flag. It's an admission that the money has run out and the options have narrowed to almost nothing. Meghan Markle, who once dreamed of building a billion-dollar empire, who thought she'd waltz into Hollywood and conquer the entertainment world, is now reduced to asking strangers to work for free. The fall from grace couldn't be more complete. And here's what makes it even sadder. Legitimate charitable organizations do amazing work with volunteers every single day. But those organizations have missions that people believe in, leadership that people trust, and transparency that makes volunteers feel valued and respected. Archwell has none of that. It's got a celebrity figurehead desperately trying to maintain relevance, a track record of burning through money with nothing to show for it, and a reputation for secrecy that's completely incompatible with volunteer-based work.
Allegations regarding the misuse of Royal Association through Meghan's Archwell Foundation are now under legal review.
This isn't going to end well, and everyone watching can see it coming from a mile away. The isolation is becoming impossible to hide. Once upon a time, Meghan Markle thought she'd waltz into Hollywood and be embraced by the most powerful people in entertainment. She assumed her royal connections would open every door, that the A-list would welcome her with open arms, but sources are now confirming what observers have suspected for months. The elite circles of Los Angeles want absolutely nothing to do with Harry and Meghan, and the doors that once seemed wide open have slammed shut with devastating finality. Consider what's missing from the picture. Where are the Hampton sightings? Where are the photographs of Meghan lounging on fancy yachts with billionaire friends? Where are the paparazzi shots outside exclusive restaurants where the rich and famous gather? They simply don't exist. Despite living in California for nearly 5 years, Meghan and Harry have failed to penetrate the upper echelons of Hollywood society.
Project Healthy Minds Humanitarians of the Year Award, and they're scheduled to appear at the organization.
They exist on the periphery, looking in through the window at a party they were never truly invited to attend. The Clooneys have distanced themselves completely. George Clooney, who once spoke warmly about the couple and even attended their wedding, has gone cold. The Obamas, whose model Meghan desperately wanted to replicate, have shown no interest in collaborating or even publicly associating with the Sussexes. The Beckhams, once considered close friends, find them tedious and have quietly severed ties. One by one, the celebrity relationships that Meghan cultivated have withered and died. The reason for this social exile is painfully simple. The wealthy and powerful value one thing above almost everything else: discretion. They need to know that private conversations will remain private.
People who joined the team reportedly described Archwell as a media company pretending to be a charity. Every project came with a photo.
They need confidence that social gatherings won't become fodder for tabloid stories or Netflix documentaries. And Harry and Meghan have proven time and again that they can't be trusted with sensitive information. They blab. They write memoirs. They sit down for explosive interviews. They weaponize private moments for public sympathy. No one with real power wants that kind of liability in their social circle. People within Hollywood circles have been blunt about the situation. The word toxic gets thrown around constantly when discussing the Sussexes. They're seen as users who collect relationships for strategic purposes rather than genuine connection. Meghan worked rooms like someone desperate for any opportunity at Kris Jenner's recent birthday party, handing out contact information to anyone who would take it. That kind of networking doesn't go unnoticed in a town built on reading people's intentions.
There, proudly displayed across their media pages. It was the couple's most emotional initiative built around helping parents.
The result is a strange kind of celebrity purgatory. Harry and Meghan are too famous to be ignored, but too problematic to be embraced. They attend events, but don't receive invitations to the truly exclusive gatherings where real power players convene. They live in one of the most connected zip codes in America, yet remain profoundly disconnected from the community around them. It's like being invited to stand outside the velvet rope while everyone else parties inside. Think about how isolating that must feel. You move across the world, burn bridges with your entire family, give up everything you knew, all for this dream of becoming entertainment royalty, and then you realize that the people you thought would welcome you actually want nothing to do with you. The invitations you expected never arrive. The collaborations you assumed would happen never materialize.
I need him before or after you hit him. Looks like he's recovering from the blow.
The friendships you thought you were building turn out to be people being polite at parties before ghosting you completely. Hollywood has rendered its verdict, and the verdict is rejection. Not the loud, dramatic kind of rejection that makes headlines. It's the quiet, devastating kind where you're simply not included, where group chats happen without you, where dinner parties are planned and your name never comes up, where industry insiders exchange knowing looks when your name is mentioned. And then the conversation quickly moves on to someone more interesting, more trustworthy, more worth their time. The dream of becoming entertainment royalty has become a nightmare of social isolation. And the worst part, Meghan probably still doesn't fully understand why. She likely sees it as unfair treatment or conspiracy against her. The idea that she and Harry are simply exhausting to be around, that they're liabilities nobody wants to risk.
Records indicate that these two have been delinquent since January for not filing its annual registration.
That probably hasn't even crossed her mind. And that's why the isolation will only get worse. If you're looking for a sign that Meghan Markle has hit rock bottom, look no further than the latest reports about her new social circle. The Sussexes have been cozying up to none other than Kris Jenner and the Kardashian clan. They're attending events, networking furiously, and there's even talk about potential collaborations. For a woman who once positioned herself as a serious humanitarian and champion of privacy, the desperation couldn't be more transparent. Meghan Markle is ready to join forces with the family that literally built their empire on reality television. The reports emerged after Harry and Meghan attended Kris Jenner's star-studded 70th birthday bash in November. According to people who were there, Meghan was like a kid in a candy shop, working the room and handing out her contact details to anyone who would take them.
Fan base, which has been incredibly harmful to not just the royal family, anyone. Remember John Lennon's son?
She told guests she has the utmost respect for Kris and is thrilled to be on a first-name basis with Kim, Khloe, and their vast network of friends. For someone who supposedly values privacy and discretion, attaching herself to the most overexposed family in America is quite the strategic pivot. But the truly mortifying details involve what these collaborations might look like. Reports suggest that Kris Jenner wants to write Harry and Meghan into an upcoming episode of The Kardashians. Let that sink in for a moment. A former senior member of the British royal family, the grandson of Queen Elizabeth, potentially appearing on a reality show famous for documenting family drama, romantic disasters, and cosmetic procedures. The optics are absolutely wild, and it gets even more interesting. There's been talk about Harry getting involved with Kim Kardashian's underwear brand.
If you ever need proof that timing is a choice, and a petty one at that, Look no further than the Duke and Duchess of Perpetual.
The mental image alone is enough to make royal watchers cringe. Prince Harry, 6th in line to the throne, Duke of Sussex, veteran of the British Army, potentially modeling undergarments for a brand built by a reality television star. This is what the great escape from royal life has led to: potential underwear advertisements. The Kardashians represent everything Meghan once claimed to stand against. They built their empire by exposing every intimate detail of their lives to public consumption. They monetize their children relentlessly. They treat privacy as a commodity to be sold rather than a value to be protected. And yet, here's Meghan throwing herself at this family because they're the only people in Los Angeles willing to give her the time of day. What makes this particularly tragic is that it probably won't work. The Kardashians are successful because they're authentic in their shamelessness.
Archwell Foundation was there, proudly displayed across their media pages. It was the couple's most emotional initiative, built around helping parents.
They own exactly who they are and what they do. They don't pretend to be something they're not. Meghan has spent years pretending to be something she isn't, and audiences can smell that inauthenticity from miles away. She's positioned herself as a humanitarian, a privacy advocate, a victim of media persecution, and now she's trying to pivot into reality TV collaborations and lifestyle branding with the most media-saturated family on the planet. Think about the contradiction here. This is someone who's spent years complaining about media intrusion, about the paparazzi, about having her privacy violated. She's talked endlessly about protecting her children from public scrutiny. And now she's potentially partnering with a family whose entire business model is built on cameras following their every move.
Online site today. Jane Pauley talks with Meghan and Harry about their undertaking and the reasons behind it.
Whose kids have grown up on television, whose lives are documented for entertainment. How do you reconcile those two positions? You can't. It's impossible. Partnering with the Kardashians won't rehabilitate Meghan's image. It'll only confirm what critics have been saying all along. She'll do absolutely anything for fame and money. The humanitarian facade will crumble completely. The privacy concerns will be exposed as selective and convenient. And the public will see her for what she's always been: someone desperately chasing relevance and willing to compromise any stated principle to get it. The saddest part? The Kardashians don't need Meghan. They've built a legitimate empire without her. They have their own shows, their own brands, their own massive followings. Meghan needs them far more than they need her. And that power dynamic means she's walking into this situation
of Harry and Meghan in Britain next year, and here's why. When the Duke and Duchess of Sussex quit royal duties back in 2020,
from a position of weakness, willing to do whatever it takes just to stay relevant. That's not a partnership. That's desperation with a smile. Marketing experts are now weighing in on a question that's been haunting Meghan Markle for years. Can her brand be saved? Or has the damage become so severe that no amount of rebranding, pivoting, or strategic partnerships can resurrect her public image? The consensus emerging from industry professionals is brutal. Meghan has crossed a threshold from which very few public figures ever return, and the reasons have everything to do with her own repeated missteps. The fundamental problem is one of self-sabotage. Time after time, Meghan has found herself on the verge of a positive moment, only to undermine it with tone-deaf decisions or unnecessary controversy.
Deborah Roberts here with that. A new documentary is out as well, Deborah. And you've been on this Harry and Meghan beat for a long time.
I gotta tell you, George, almost as fun as it was.
She releases heartfelt content about family values, while simultaneously refusing to reconcile with her own father. She preaches about authenticity, while everything about her public persona feels meticulously calculated. She advocates for responsible behavior while selectively leaking information to friendly outlets. The contradictions are endless, and audiences have grown exhausted trying to reconcile the image she projects with the behavior they observe. Consider the branding choices themselves. with Love Meghan, American Riviera Orchard. Critics have pointed out that these names drip with a kind of forced sweetness that feels deeply inauthentic. One commentator recently observed that the With Love Meghan name seems designed to manufacture affection through sheer repetition, as if saying the word love enough times will somehow make people feel it. The psychology behind these choices reveals someone profoundly insecure.
Harry and Meghan dropped $500,000 to help children in Gaza. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are
seeking validation through branding rather than earning it through substance. The lifestyle space Meghan has chosen to enter is particularly unforgiving. Successful lifestyle brands are built by people who demonstrate genuine expertise and relatability. Martha Stewart survived prison and rebuilt her empire because she knows how to cook, decorate, and entertain at an expert level. Ina Garten commands loyalty because her recipes consistently deliver delicious results. What does Meghan bring to this space? A title she no longer uses in any meaningful way, and a lifestyle most of her potential customers could never afford or relate to. Marketing insiders have pointed out another critical flaw. Meghan lacks the substance that audiences in this space demand. Social media has evolved. Viewers follow creators who provide genuine expertise and teach them something new.
So I just learned something that doesn't sit well with me at all about charitable foundations, and specifically the Archwell Foundation.
They want beautiful recipes from real experts. They want practical advice they can implement in their own lives. They don't want someone pretending to be a domestic goddess while clearly having staff handle every task. The performance is too obvious and modern audiences are too sophisticated to fall for it. The wine launch for American Riviera Orchard perfectly encapsulated these problems. Reports suggested around 10,000 bottles sold, which sounds impressive until you realize that represents roughly 3,000 customers buying the 3-bottle minimum. In an industry where 10,000 cases represents the low end of success, 10,000 bottles is basically nothing. The brand isn't thriving, it's barely surviving, and the trajectory points only downward. Then there's the family drama she keeps stirring up.
Talking. Archwell is reportedly offering exclusive dinner experiences with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
When she could have just accepted an apology and moved on, she instead released an aggressive statement that tried to rewrite history. She attempted to erase her father's role in raising her while he's elderly and in poor health. That's not just bad public relations, it's cruel. And people see it for what it is. You can't build a brand around warmth and love while publicly diminishing the father who raised you and paid for your education. Every time Meghan wins a small battle, she loses the bigger war. She forces retractions from media outlets, but reminds everyone of the family estrangement. She launches products, but can't generate genuine excitement. She attaches herself to celebrities, but gets labeled as desperate. The pattern repeats endlessly because she can't get out of her own way. The brand can't be saved because Meghan won't do the one thing that might work, disappear for a while, do some genuine self-reflection, and come back with humility and authenticity.
Well, in Royal Sussex news today, the impact report for this year has been released as well.
Instead, she keeps doubling down on strategies that aren't working, blaming everyone else for the failures, and wondering why the public isn't buying what she's selling. At some point, you have to accept that the problem isn't the marketing, it's the product itself. While Meghan scrambles to save her collapsing empire, there's another figure in this drama whose situation may be even more tragic. Prince Harry, once one of the most beloved royals in the world, now finds himself trapped in wreckage, largely of his own making. His relationship with his father has deteriorated. His brother William wants nothing to do with him, and the life he abandoned everything to build in California appears to be crumbling around him faster than anyone anticipated. The signs of Harry's deteriorating position are everywhere.
Queen is incredibly smart.
The Queen sees Meghan as a very, almost say, useful tool in securing.
Reports recently surfaced that he's legally changed his official residence from the United Kingdom to the United States, a symbolic severing of ties that speaks volumes about where his head is at. The Archwell Foundation, which was supposed to be his vehicle for continued relevance, has hemorrhaged millions and is now shedding staff. Every decision he makes seems to drive him further from any possibility of reconciliation with his family. Royal observers have offered a devastating assessment of Harry's situation. The prince permanently positions himself as the victim rather than taking any accountability for the problems he's caused. This victim mentality has become Harry's defining characteristic. Nothing is ever his fault. The family failed him. The institution betrayed him. The media persecuted him.
Restructuring their Archwell Foundation, rebranding it as Archwell Philanthropies, and shifting to an entirely new operational model.
The narrative never changes, and the lack of self-reflection has made genuine reconciliation virtually impossible. King Charles wants to repair the relationship with his younger son. That desire is said to be in the king's nature. This wish to bring his family back together despite everything that's happened. But every time an olive branch appears, Harry finds a way to set it on fire. He leaks to the press, he makes accusations in documentaries, he writes memoirs exposing private family conversations. The trust has been so thoroughly destroyed that William refuses to be in the same room as his brother unless absolutely necessary. The brotherhood that once charmed the world has become a casualty of Harry's choices. What makes Harry's situation particularly poignant is the growing sense that he may be realizing the magnitude of his mistakes. Sources describe him as increasingly withdrawn.
Has been widely mocked online as a publicity stunt, with many pointing out that the couple is merely using the name.
Struggling to find his footing in a world where his title means little and his wife's ventures keep failing. He gave up everything for this California dream, and the dream has become a nightmare. His children are growing up without knowing their cousins, their grandfather, or any connection to their British heritage. The isolation that Meghan craves has become Harry's prison. The financial pressures alone would be enough to crack most marriages. There's been long-standing talk about tension between Harry and Meghan over money, priorities, and the direction of their public lives. Harry never wanted the constant media exposure that Meghan seems to crave. Meghan can't understand why Harry won't fully embrace the celebrity lifestyle that could potentially save their finances. They want fundamentally different things.
Prince Harry just dropped his royal title and went by a completely different last name. And I have so many questions.
And those differences are becoming harder to paper over as the bank accounts shrink and the opportunities dry up. Think about Harry's position for a moment. He's got children who'll never really know their royal heritage. He's estranged from a father who's trying to extend compassion. He's lost a brother who was once his closest confidant. He's tied to ventures that keep failing and bleeding money. And he's stuck in a marriage where the goals seem increasingly incompatible. The current trajectory is simply unsustainable. The coming year will force decisions that Harry and Meghan have been avoiding. You can't maintain a $15 million mansion, security costs running into millions annually, and the lifestyle they're accustomed to when your ventures keep failing and your foundation can't afford staff. Something has to give, and the options are all terrible. Sell the house and admit defeat. Abandon the security demands and accept vulnerability.
Someone on Twitter saying the couple have chosen 7 charities that represent a range of issues they are passionate about, including women's.
Put the children in the public eye and compromise their privacy. Or swallow pride and crawl back to the family he publicly denounced. The question that haunts observers is whether Harry will ever find the courage to admit he was wrong. His entire identity is now built around justifying his departure. Acknowledging error would mean confronting the possibility that he destroyed his family relationships for nothing. That may be a truth too painful for him to ever accept. And so the isolation continues, the money dwindles, and the man who once had everything watches it all slip away while still insisting he's the victim. Everything we've talked about leads to one inescapable reality. What's happening to Meghan Markle isn't approaching some distant endpoint. It's accelerating, and the worst may still be coming.
And a multi-million-dollar secret exposed in a lavish Montecito mansion. No, you're not mistaken.
The foundation is bleeding money. The staff is disappearing. The Hollywood connections have evaporated. And somewhere in that Montecito mansion, two people who once believed they could conquer the world are facing the terrifying reality that their empire was built on sand. The saddest part of this entire saga is how preventable it all was. Harry and Meghan were handed opportunities that most people could never dream of receiving. They had fame, powerful connections, a global platform, and genuine goodwill from millions of people who wanted them to succeed. All they had to do was produce quality work and treat people with basic decency. That's it. Create good content, be respectful to the people around you, deliver on your promises. The bar wasn't even that high, and instead they burned every bridge they crossed. They blamed everyone else for every failure. They played the victim card while living in luxury most people can't even imagine.
I went out and built up personal essential kits for bathroom essentials and bathroom furniture. These kits were...
And now they're watching their dreams disintegrate while still refusing to look in the mirror and ask the hard questions. When do you stop blaming the media, the family, the industry, the public, and start asking what role you played in your own downfall? The financial reckoning is real. The panic is justified. The isolation is deepening. And the options moving forward all require sacrifices they've spent years insisting they'd never make. Do they swallow their pride? Do they compromise their children's privacy for content? Do they downsize and admit the lifestyle isn't sustainable? Every path forward requires humility, and humility is the one thing they've consistently refused to show. We're all watching to see just how far this fall goes. Will there be a moment of clarity where they realize what they've lost and try to make amends? Or will they continue doubling down, insisting everyone else is wrong while their world gets smaller and smaller? Right now, the trajectory suggests the latter. And if that's the case, what we've seen so far might just be the beginning of something much bigger. So, what do you think? Is there any way back for them, or is this headed for complete disaster? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you're seeing that I might have missed. If you found this interesting, smash that like button and subscribe, because this story's far from over, and you're not going to want to miss what happens next. Hit the bell so you're first to know when we drop the next one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.